The hour of 7:30 having arrived, a quorum of voters being present, it is my distinct pleasure to call to order the 2022 Tewksbury Annual Town Meeting. My name is Dustin Weir, and I am privileged to serve as town moderator this evening. Let the record show that a properly served and returned warrant is in possession. Please welcome Connections Academy sophomore Deja Allen to sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Deja. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence and reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence respecting the loss in the last year of members of our community. Thank you. Please be seated. May I have the chair of the Select Board, Mr. Todd Johnson, please come to the podium for announcements for items of interest to the Assembly.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and good evening to everyone here. I have 4 announcements this evening. The first is that on May 7, this coming Saturday, there will be Springtown Cleanup Day. That's being organized by the Tewksbury Beautification Committee between the hours of 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. That's going to be, I think, sent off from the town common and also involves the DPW facility at 999 Whipple Road. Number 2, on the same day, May 7, between the hours of 9 and 2, the Power of Flowers organization is hosting their Bloom Festival. Number 3, on Saturday, May 14, again from the hours of 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Friends of the Elderly are hosting an indoor yard sale. That will take place at the Tewksbury Senior Center at 175 Chandler Street. If you're interested in renting a table, you can reach out to the Senior Center. And last, But not least, on Saturday, May 14 as well, the annual National Letter Carriers will conduct their food drive to benefit the Tewksbury Community Food Pantry. If you leave non-perishable food items by your mailbox or in your mailbox, the letter carriers will pick them up and bring them to our food pantry here locally. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. From time to time, our legislators join us at town meeting as they are able. Tonight, State Senator Barry Feingold, State Representatives David Robertson and Tram Nguyen would like to come forward to talk about their work on behalf of the people of Tewksbury for a few moments. As non-residents of the town and therefore non-voters, I ask the Assembly to allow Mr. Feingold, Mr. Robertson, and Mrs. Nguyen to take brief statements of 3 minutes each about their work on Beacon Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Excuse me, Mr. Feingold, we have to take a vote on it first.
Oh, sorry.
All those in favor? Say aye. All those opposed? Thank you, Mr. Feingold.
Thank you. Sorry to jump the gun there. My name is State Senator Barry Feingold. I'm along here with Representative Robertson and Representative Nguyen. Very briefly, just want to kind of give you the state of the state, what's going on and how that's affecting this community. As we go through our budgets, we continue to be very proactive in making sure that we are finding a balance between funding important things like education and roads, but at the same time making sure that we are putting money into the rainy day fund, so when things do turn, we will have enough funds to make sure that we can continue the services that we should be having in these communities. The reps are going to be talking about what we're doing on Route 38, what we're doing with some of our fire and safety and police, and just once again, we are here to be helpful. There's never a problem that is too small, and please reach out to our offices if we can ever be of help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feingold. Ms. Nguyen.
Good evening, everyone. I'm State Representative Tram Nguyen. It's such a pleasure to be with you here today alongside Senator Feingold and my colleague, Representative Robertson. As you know, we've been working together as a delegation to benefit the town of Tewksbury. Last fall, we teamed up to bring almost $200,000 in federal ARPA funding to Tewksbury. This funding went into the design and building of sidewalks, pedestrian crossings, as well as stormwater infrastructure. It also funded $50,000 for substance abuse recovery program at Action Recovery, Inc. And another $40,000 went to the Chamber of Commerce to support businesses that had been hit hard by the pandemic. And in last week's budget, we were hard at work. Our delegation once again partnered up to bring over $175,000 to Tewksbury. That includes $100,000 for a new police radio system, as well as $75,000 reimbursement to the police department for all of the work that they do in supporting the Tewksbury State Hospital. And of course, we'll continue to work, especially with the senator, to make sure that the fire services are reimbursed as well. We truly thank the police and fire first responders for all the hard work that you do, and we'll continue to partner with you. We also got financial commitment in maintaining a number of beds at the Tewksbury State Hospital. And I want to note that in speaking, I think I speak for all of us here in the delegation when I say that we will continue to work closely with town leaders as well as the town manager, Richard Montori, and the select board to identify Tewksbury's needs and address them together. Tewksbury is such a vibrant and dynamic community and a great place to live, and we will all continue to work to keep it that way. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Robertson.
Good evening. I'm sure everyone has seen the barrels and the police details on Main Street. Very excited that our project is finally moving forward after years of advocacy in the state and local area. So for those that may have missed it or are watching from home, that will be a redesigned project going from Colonial up to, well, when I grew up was the Friendlies, but now is the Mexica there. That leads me to the survey. My colleagues covered a majority of the financial earmarks that we've done here, bringing state revenues back to the town to support and grow our community in ways. We are anticipating allocation of the federal funds. So for you, those of you who came in, we gave you a state delegation survey, It's 3 questions that each concentrate in an important area which you, the residents of town, have asked us to consider. The first one you'll see asks us to have you rate your local neighborhood in terms of where you feel the infrastructure is short, whether it's potholes, a lack of sidewalks, maybe it's an issue with drainage or flooding. The second one is what you might perceive to see what is a hurdle that prevents you or your family from shopping local. Is it a question of not knowing the shops? Is it a question of traffic? Things of that nature. And then the third one I just wanted to speak to for a brief moment. Both my communities, and Tewksbury being one of them, is facing a discussion tonight on a capital project coming up with the DPW. A number of folks have asked both local officials and local residents about state aid. And one of the ideas floated was the creation of a state fund similar to how we go through the process for building our schools that would be applicable towards fire, police, and the like. So whether that would be a new revenue stream or a restructuring of state revenue, the idea would be that towns could apply for this fund in the future and help mitigate any potential local tax revenue shocks. So if you have any questions, just look up. You can't miss me. I'll be at the back here with my delegates, and I thank you and look forward to answering any questions you might have this evening.
Thank you very much. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the annual Tewksbury Town Meeting. As we begin our meeting, I want to take a moment to talk about ground rules. Town meeting is the legislative body for our community, where we work together to debate the merits of the articles within the warrant before you. Please take a moment to refer to the glossary of terms at the back of your warrant. Because Tewksbury has an open town meeting, each registered voter in Tewksbury is eligible to act on fiscal issues, zoning changes, bylaw amendments, and other matters affecting the town. Voters must wear their voting ribbon conspicuously in order to be counted during standing votes. Please ensure that it is on your person, not on your jacket, or on your jacket if you're wearing a jacket. Visitors may attend the meeting and sit only in the reserved visitors section. Media may sit in the visitors section or at the press table. This meeting is being recorded. As we move through the articles, presenters or sponsors of the articles will be allowed to speak first before I open the floor to debate. A voter desiring to speak should approach the microphone and to wait to be recognized. Please identify yourself when recognized by your name and address for the record. I ask members of the boards to do the same. Each speaker is allowed up to 5 minutes to speak on an article. Please speak clearly into the microphone so the body can hear you. I will let you know when you have 30 seconds on your time by tapping the podium. When you hear that tapping, that is your signal to wrap up your remarks. Speakers can disagree with any official, with any other voter, volunteer, or any board. We have a strong tradition in Tewksbury of maintaining a respectful dialogue during town meeting. I will do everything I can to ensure that the speaker is shown respect and that your questions are answered. I ask that all participants kindly do the same. Residents refusing to conduct themselves in a manner befitting this body will be asked to cede the floor and potentially escorted from the meeting. I hope I don't have to enforce the rule. Let's work together to address the issues before this body fairly and efficiently. I will accept a motion to move the question. However, I reserve the right to make sure that we had some dialogue on the motion. All questions on the floor are to be directed to the moderator. If you are amending an article, you must present it to the town clerk in writing. We will vote on the amendment first. If the amendment passes, it will then become part of the main motion, and we will discuss the main motion. If an amendment does not pass, then we will go back to the main motion as it is written in the warrant. We will be discussing the budget tonight. Our boards, the select board, raise your hands so they know. The select board, school committee, finance committee, town manager, Mr. Montori, assistant town manager, Mr. Sadgwick, and department heads deserve significant amount of credit for the work that went into the budget and to have the numbers here before us tonight. When you came in tonight, you were given a warrant with the articles we will be discussing, along with a handout of the Finance Committee recommendations and a supplemental handout from the town manager with detailed explanations for several articles and funds. Scrivener's errors are also noted in the document. At this time, please silence your cell phones and ensure your voter ribbon is showing that counters can easily see it when we do standing counts. Counters, please go to your sections. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please take note of the counter for your section. When doing a standing count, it is important you pay attention to your counter and sit down once counted. Your counter will nod when you are counted. The best way to make sure that you are counted is to make eye contact with your counter as they go around. Is there anyone new to town meeting here tonight? Guard. We welcome, if there were anybody who didn't raise your hand, we welcome you to town meeting and hope you enjoy this process. For all of you that attend faithfully, I thank you for your continued presence this evening and your commitment to and involvement in the community. Sitting up here are the various boards of the town with elected and appointed members, including the Select Board, Town Council, Planning Board, the Board of Health, department heads, the Finance Committee, the School Committee, Library Trustees, the Shawshene Tech School Committee, and the Housing Authority. Now, please allow me to introduce the chairman of the Finance Committee, Mr. Robert Kuzmersky. Mr. Kuzmersky will make the first motion on every article unless the Finance Committee is deferring to another board. Mr. Kuzmersky, may I hear a motion to waive the reading of the warrant articles?
I move to waive the reading of the warrant articles.
All those in favor of waiving the reading of the warrant articles, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Do we have anyone in the gymnasium who is not registered voter here in Tewksbury? Please sit in the visitor section in the bleachers to my left, your right, at the front of the auditorium. Non-voters are allowed to address the meeting with prior consent. Typically, we hear from non-voters who are employees, volunteers, or advisors of the town. Mr. Kuzmersky, may I have a motion to permit certain anticipated non-residents to speak on issues?
Mr. Moderator, I move to allow certain anticipated non-residents to speak on issues, including Assistant Town Manager Steve Sadwick, Fire Chief Joe Kearns, School Business Manager David Libby, DPW Superintendent Brian Gilbert, Town Engineer Kevin Hardiman, Town Council Kevin Feely, and others, some of whom may be asked to answer resident questions.
All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. If there are any other non-voters with us tonight, they may only speak upon further motion and consent of the meeting. Please note, tonight's agenda covers Articles 1 through 28. The zoning bylaw amendments are scheduled for Wednesday's annual town meeting to be held this Wednesday, May 4th at 7:30 p.m. The zoning bylaw articles are numbered 29, 30, and 31, starting on page 23 of your warrant. We will not be acting on or debating these articles tonight, so please join us on Wednesday for those items. Before we get started with Article 1, can we have the police officers please close the doors to the gymnasium? Thank you, gentlemen. Article 1. The annual town election was held on April 2nd, 2022. 2,281 voters, representing 9.5% of registered voters, cast ballots in the election. Elected this year were Jane Wellman and Mark Kratman to the Select Board, Caleb Agione-Smith and Richard Russo to the School Committee, James Duffy to the Planning Board, Susan Amato and Melissa Braga to the Board of Health, Julie Naughton and Suzanne Peterson to the Board of Library Trustees, Patricia Muse to the Shawshene Technical High School Committee, myself, Dustin Weir, as Town Moderator. Since these town officers were chosen during the election, the town meeting does not vote on Article 1. Mr. Kuzmersky, Article 2.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 2.
Do I see anyone rising for debate on Article 2?
All right. Jay Kelly, 79 Salem Road, Tewksbury. Just for the record, I was planning to make an amendment to Article 2, and the reason and rationale was simple. If you recall, back in October, there was a vote to change the planning board from 3 to 5 years. That was an article that subsequently passed. But outside of that article, if you look at the distribution about the dollars for the Board of Health, as an example, for the planning board as an example, in the school committee and in the selectmen, you can see how the money's, they're not even close. So the article was planned to simply keep the dollars the same, but distribute the dollars across the board. However, after speaking with some of my colleagues, I didn't want to submit an article that was half-baked. So the plan is simple. I'm going to work with Mr. Montori, the rest of my colleagues, to come back in October with a clean article so it's not confusing. But I just wanted to put that on the record because I was definitely adamant, as well as some of my colleagues, to take a hard look at this and say what's fair. And oh, by the way, the Board of Trustees on our library is not included, our local housing representative is not included, and our representative for the Shawshene Tech, who is elected, is not included. So let's do some homework together and come back with the residents with a nice clean article in October. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Any other debate on Article 2? All right. All those in favor of passing Article 2 as written in your warrant, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries. I believe that was unanimous. Article 3. I'm going to read what's in the warrant so it's clear. The moderator will call out the number of articles one by one. If a voter objects to any particular article being included in the consent calendar, he or she should say the word hold when the number is called. The article is then removed from the consent calendar and restored to its original number placed in the warrant, to be acted upon, debated, and voted in the usual manner. After calling of the individual items in the consent calendar, the moderator shall ask that the voters pass all the remaining items as a unit. So, Articles 325, 3-26, 3-27, and 3-28. I'm going to call out those articles in order. If you wish to debate any one particular item, please say hold, and we will come back to that one at the end, and we'll pass all four, we'll vote on, the remaining articles that nobody has held at this time. Now, does anybody, please say hold, wish to debate Article 3-25?
Except one more time before.
Sure.
You should probably say except the
3-25 is accept the annual report. Article 3-26, lease purchase agreements. Article 3-27, authorize Chapter 90 funds. I heard hold on Article 3-27. That is now removed from the consent calendar and moved to its original place in the warrant, which is after Article 24. Article 3-28, reauthorize revolving funds. Okay. The consent calendar now consists of Articles 3-25, 3-26, and 3-28.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Articles 3-25, 3-26, and 3-28.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Article 4. Go ahead.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 4, raise and appropriate $127,110,820 for the purpose of the article.
Thank you. Article 4 on page 7 of your warrant contains our prepared annual budget. For expediency of debate, I will read the titles of each section in order. If anyone wishes to debate the contents of a particular section, please reply "debate" when the title is read. We will then debate the section in order. When the debate of all sections is concluded, we will proceed with amendments and vote on Article 4. If anybody wishes to debate or amend any of these sections, please reply "debate" at this time. General Government on page 8. Finance Department, page 8. On page 9, Community Services. Page 9, Council on Aging. Page 10, Facilities. And also Library. Planning and Development. On page 11, Public Safety. School Departments. On page 12, Department of Public Works. And lastly, page 13, Unclassified. I hear debate on unclassified. If anyone wishes to line up to debate at the podium, please do so at this time.
Jay Kelly, 79 Salem Road. I'm quite certain I'm going to have company after this debate. So, short and sweet, I'm going to debate unclassifieds that are associated with the potential new DPW school maintenance facility, which we're not voting on tonight. So, let me start saying there's an absolute, unequivocal need for a new DPW school maintenance building. What we know is the first concept plan was 40 million, the second concept plan was 30 million. And we're gonna work to seek additional savings. So all good. We did direct Mr. Montori through the board to essentially pay for this through the budget, not through a debt exclusion. So again, all good. But for the nuts and bolts, let's talk about the aspect, this is where the fun starts, as far as actually funding it. So there's a total of $1,799.97 set aside through debt services to essentially fund, kind of have a placeholder, to fund two areas. To get technical, $1,450,000 for non-exempt principal mature debt, $600,278 for non-exempt interest. So the bottom line, within this budget for the residents, it's essentially new tax dollars under the tax levy, $130 per household. Mr. Montori, is that accurate?
That is correct.
Thank you. Okay, so in summary, there's a need, planning is a work in progress, and this evening, now we're positioning funding. So I'll take a step back. So all goodness there. So essentially, I had three real major concerns about the positioning or allocating that $130 per resident. I'm sorry, Mr. Montori, the $130, what is that based upon, the house value?
That is based on the current fiscal 2022 home value of $489,065.
Thank you. Thank you. Test. I don't think you can buy a doghouse in Tewksbury for that anymore. But anyways, so let me get to the point. So I have two major concerns. I'm going to call it 1A, and then 2. Number 1, the timing is awful. Now, whether this is a DPW station, a fire station, or a police station, my concerns are the same. I just want to level set. Again, I already said there is a need for the DPW station. So for me, inflation, it's simple. Look at the supply and demand. We're moving to an inflation. Labor workforce, still big gap between what we're hiring, the gaps in the workforce versus new hires. Cost of fuel, food, materials of all kind. The bottom line, economic conditions are not in our favor. Although I really do, I hope I'm dead wrong. Now, the second point is around interest rates. Mr. Montori said potentially, because interest rates are on the cusp to change, we don't know the tax implications come October when we do borrow the $20 million bond. Right now, they're favorable, but like I said, it's unknown. So when I cannot address a resident, what are the tax implications if we vote on this? I'm not sure. I don't think any of us are sure. And this is the 1A around the increase in housing. And we're predicting anywhere between a 10 to 12% increase in housing. So indirectly, our taxes are going to go up, not only the $190 if this is approved, but then you can do the math on 10% increase, which is very likely. And I'd be disrespected to say, this hits everyone hard, but it hits the senior community the hardest with a fixed income with these increases. How can they afford these increases based on a fixed income? I'd be disrespectful if I didn't mention that. And last but not least, the plan is still in motion. So my point is, if we have a plan that we're voting on tonight that is essentially a placeholder, how can I in good faith vote for something that's still in motion? And again, I'm certain about the tax implications. So for me, the timing under these economic uncertainties to take immediate action is iffy, and the general budget to me should be somewhat predictable in nature, because again, I have concerns with what we are funding and the tax implications if it's funded. So, Mr. Moderator, obviously I'm going to let other people speak, but I would like to propose an amendment to Article 4 that essentially...
Mr. Kelly, thank you. Can you bring the, I assume you've got it all in writing?
Yeah, can I mention it for the residents, the article?
Why don't we bring it up?
Okay.
Because you just hit your time, and we'll get to debate the article, the amendment in a minute. Okay. The amendment to Article 4 is to remove the sum of $1,450,000 from non-exempt principal maturing debt and $278 from non-exempt interest maturing debt. And so those lines would be removed completely from the budget, or would those particular numbers be set to zero? Since we have an amendment on the floor, we're now going to move to debating the amendment itself. So in order for the town manager and the finance committee to take a look at this particular amendment, I'm going to take a brief, call it 5-minute break, and then we can get back to debating the amendment. Thank you. forget to look. Thank you for the opportunity. The amendment proposed by Mr. Kelly on page 13 of your warrant, under unclassified, non-exempt principal maturing debt, changes the sum of $1,450,000 to the amount of $1,245,000. It also changes the number for non-exempt interest maturing debt from $638,278 to $554,997. Do we have anybody that wishes to speak on the amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I would ask the town meeting to defeat this amendment. This is the third year in a row that we have come forward with debt service set aside for the DPW school maintenance facility. This is the fourth year in a row that we have brought funding requests forward for this project. In fiscal year 2020, town meeting approved $2.2 million to begin the design and set aside funds for project management for the school DPW maintenance facility. In fiscal 21, $1,364,975 was set aside within the FY21 budget to fund a DPW school maintenance facility. That money was eventually cut from the budget because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we needed to adjust because of the economic uncertainty and the economic times we were in. We did budget again in FY22, $1,589,178 for debt service for the DPW school maintenance facility. And again, after we reviewed the economic construction situation, we decided not to move forward with the project and wait until the costs start to go down for the project. We're coming forward in FY23, as mentioned earlier, with $1,799,997 for this project. But we're setting aside the money tonight. The project itself will not come forward to town meeting in October, which at that time will seek a bond authorization of approximately $25 million for the project. And if additional funds are needed from general fund reserves, we'll seek approval from town meeting to utilize those funds to fund the project. This is not a new project to town meeting. This is not a new project to the townspeople. I understand from the proponent of the amendment of the uncertainty in the economy. But we have proven over the last couple of years that we review those uncertainties and we make decisions in the best interest of the community. And on the two previous occasions, we did not move forward with the project because of those uncertainties. We will do the same in October if the economy looks as though there are financial concerns for the community. If there are uncertainties, we will not move forward with the project. We have plenty of time to assess the economy. In regard to the uncertainty of interest rates and how it impacts the budget and how it impacts tax rates, that is already factored into the financial model we brought forward in this town meeting. The interest rates, the debt service projections were not projected by me, they were projected by our financial advisors at Unibank. They took into consideration what a borrowing of these funds would be next January. They forecasted out to 2023, and they told me they were conservative. But there's still uncertainty, but we'll evaluate that in October. This project, as the proponent himself has stated, is absolutely needed. The oldest part of this building that we're looking to renovate is 60 years old. The newest part of this building that we're looking to replace is 42 years old. On top of that, not only are we looking to have a new facility for the DPW, the school maintenance facility has no home at the moment. It was displaced when we built the new elementary school. We need to have a home for them as we move forward. This project addresses both needs of the community. I would ask you to do what we have done for the last 3 years and approve the funding for this project so we can move forward. This cannot wait. This is not a situation that we have the luxury of waiting. This facility needs to be renovated and the new facility needs to be built, and we need to start that project now.
Thank you, Mr. Montori. I see others rising to debate on the amendment, please.
Bruce Panelitis, 218 Foster Road. I rise against this amendment. I will remind all of our members here in the meeting, we had this question on a ballot 5 years ago. The budget at that time was $15 million, and now we're at 25. At that point, the interest rate was 1.6%. I suspect we're not quite doing that well on the interest rates going forward here. So in the interest of fiscal conservatism, 5 years ago, we shot that project down, and now it's costing us more. Shoot it down tonight, and it costs us more when we actually have to do it, when the building finally falls down. Or God forbid, somebody gets hurt, because I don't know about you, I toured that building 5 years ago. It wasn't safe then. We shouldn't wait any longer. It is the right fiscal thing to do to move forward with the project now. We should have done it 5 years ago. It's time to get it done now.
Thank you, Mr. Palinitis. More debate on the amendment.
Hi, Mr. Moderator. George Ferdinand, 56 Pratt Street. I've negotiated a lot of contracts in the union, and obviously if you go to a union meeting afterwards and you bring up an issue and a change, it wouldn't be the greatest thing to do because you feel like you work with the people. But to me, it all comes down to when you look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the night, and even if there's one issue you have to bring it forward. I think I'm looking more at the total that the Jay talked about for a monthly increase for everybody. I know it's apples to oranges, but I just want to mention one thing if I could, Eric. When I was on the Board of Health and one of the only members that was here, Mr. Scarano would write the best documents in the planet, okay, for a rectification of an issue, whether it was with the person, individual, couple.
Mr. Ferdinand,
Keep it to that?
If you could keep it to the...
Okay, what I wanted to say is, because of one thing, I had to vote no because I saw pictures of dogs being abused. Now, you're going to say it has nothing to do with money. But the thing is, if you know, the Board of Health had to do with other animals. We gave them folks a chance to rectify the situation. I was the only one that voted no. And less than a year later, they had to take them all away from them. What I'm saying is, we're going to regret it.
appreciate the animal
Individual
rights
household
angle.
budgets are going to take.
Thank you, Mr. Ferdinand. Any other debate on the amendment to Article 4, excuse me.
Thank you. Anne Marie Stronach, 14 Pillsbury Ave. I rise against the amendment. I would like to say that I appreciate the sentiment that Mr. Kelly has brought forward in terms of the tax increase, and I do have a question for the town manager. My assumption is if this amendment goes forward and these are removed from the sum, that number will go to zero and that money would potentially end up in free cash. Is that correct, or is that an inaccurate assumption? What happens?
Just so I make sure I understand, you're saying if the amendment passes, the money would be taken out of the budget and the levy limit would be that much less.
So we will see a decrease in our taxes.
Correct. So currently, with the budget that has been proposed and all of the other needs within the budget, the average tax bill is projected to increase $190. That's based on today's values. That's based on the average home in Tewksbury. And that's based on the percentages we have for residential, commercial, and personal property. Now, we all know that will change come next fall. But right now, our best estimate, our best projection is $190. If this amendment passes and the levy is reduced by the $1,799,000, that's less revenue we need to appropriate in the tax levy. So instead of $190, you're probably looking at a $60 tax increase. But each year we have taxed to the Proposition 2.5 levy limit because of all the needs we have in the community. This year the need is the DPW facility, but that doesn't mean there aren't other needs.
If you could just stay there for a minute, I'm sorry, I have another question. If this were not something that you were proposing at this budget, and you were looking at the budget the way that you do with the Finance Committee, and looking at increasing that levy to the 2.5%, which we do every single year, I would imagine that there would be bringing a different priority forward. Is that accurate?
That's correct. There are unfunded priorities within all of the department budgets. Within our capital budget alone, over the next 4 years, if everything passes tonight, we still have over $10 million worth of capital improvements we need to make. That's not even including what the schools may need. So yes, we would have other priorities we would bring forward and other items that would utilize this funding.
Thank you. The reason I went to that level of detail and why I was trying to assess that is because if every single year the Finance Committee, along with the Select Board, find it necessary to increase the levy by 2.5%, which is the legal limit, and we have told the town manager, as a body, the Board of Selectmen has directed him to find a way to fund this project within the tax levy, and this is what has been done. And we have been looking at this need for this project for over 5 years. The opportunity has come before us. There is absolutely no reason in my mind to lower taxes by $10 a month in order to table this very important project. It is a life safety issue down there, and we have been debating this issue for over 5 years. And the point that Mr. Panelitis made about putting this off, I don't think things are going to get any better anytime soon. And I just think that we would be making a grave mistake if we did not move forward with this project and all the work that has gone into it thus far. So I raise in opposition of this amendment and hope others agree with that sentiment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ronak. Ms. Wellman.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. I apologize. Jane Wellman, 820 Shawsham Street. Congratulations, Mr. Moderator, on your election.
Thank you.
I rise in opposition to this amendment. I am very glad that we all agree that there should be a new DPW, shared DPW, and school facilities building. Timing was mentioned, and I understand those concerns, and I appreciate my colleagues' effort to raise the issue. But this article is the budget, and this particular issue is about transparent, proactive planning. Should adverse economic conditions persist, we can certainly decide what we need to do come October. I would like to remind the body that this town, approved this very high school that we're in today at the height of the Great Recession. Building projects take time and planning, and the smart move is to be pragmatic and budget as we have, and this body has unanimously nearly supported for the last 4 years. building that we're talking about repairing, or the DPW project, as Mr. Montori mentioned, is 60 years old and has not been substantively renovated in 42 years. My predecessors have stated that if we don't do anything now, if we kick the can down the road, it will cost us more money, and that has always shown itself to be true. I highly encourage everyone to vote against this amendment and continue the pragmatic and responsible budgeting that the town manager and his body has supported over the last 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moen. Mr. Kratman.
Yes, how you doing? Mark Kratman, 101 Merrimack Meadows. I rise in favor of the amendment. I agree with my colleague. I believe that at this time, it's not feasibly the right time to be doing this. Costs are through the roof. Anybody that's going out today can see what the gas prices are, what food prices are, what home prices are, and we have a lot of residents that are struggling right now. So yes, I do not want to kick the can down the road, but I also do not want to build something during the height of the most expensive time to build something. And I understand putting things off may cost more, but also the market can change. And we see what's happening with construction in other cities and towns. They're way over budget, not even close to the budget that they put together. I mean, they're building a new school in Lowell, and they're already millions and millions of dollars over the budget of what they proposed because of the cost of steel, fuel, everything else that's going on. We have a DPW facility. I understand it needs renovations, but not everything in this town needs to be new. We can do renovations, we can make improvements, we can make it safe. We can do a lot of work to make that building a much better place, and we can do things in stages instead of building everything brand new. We've built a new high school, we built a new elementary school, we've got a new police station, a fire station, all kinds of things that we've built. Not everything can be new because it's not fair to the rest of the town. Believe me, there are going to be other costs that are going to come in front of us. South Station, Fire Station will probably need renovations. Our roads need repairs. And we're spending a lot of money on a building, which, yes, we definitely need renovations, we need improvements, we need to make it safe, we need to do things to get things better down there, but we also need a lot more employees. We need DPW workers. We're understaffed, so our roads are not in the best shape right now. So if we had additional workers and other things where we allocated the money, I would love to say we are in a rosy position to be able to spend all that money. I just don't think now is the time to be putting this money forward. We can talk about it and we can see what happens this fall, but I could not agree more that we have to really look at this picture and hope for a better economy, because I don't think right now is the best time to build. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kratman.
Hello, Brenda Terrio Regan, 106 Pine Street. I rise in opposition of this amendment as well. And I guess I would like to say I echo the sentiments of Ms. Stronach and the words that I heard from the town manager, Mr. Montori. I respect the speakers that came up to speak on the amendment, but I do trust in the work and the adoption comment here from the Finance Committee. My question to you, Mr. Moderator, is what happens to the project if this amendment goes through tonight? Does that kill the project? Where will we be at?
Mr. Montori.
You know, we would assess everything after tonight to determine if we should move forward, but there'd be a strong chance that the project would end if it doesn't pass tonight. The funding doesn't pass tonight, because it would give us a good indication from town meeting that they're not in favor of the project. And when we bring it forward in October, it's going to need a 2/3 vote for the borrowing. If we can't get a majority tonight, the 2/3 would be very difficult.
Okay, once again, I rise in opposition. As noted, there is no facility for our school maintenance department to exist. We, in this long planning of this project over the past few years, the plan was that they would be joining in with the DPW. Their former home, the center school, has started the demolition process, and I think that this project should move forward as voted on in prior town meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Terry O'Regan.
Good evening. Joe Marie Buckley, sorry, I just did what Jane did. 105 Star Avenue. I also rise in opposition to the amendment. I would note that a lot of the discussion is in hypothetical, even though that's not the nature of what this discussion should be. But if we're going to speak in hypothetical, I would suggest that if we're going to monkey around with the numbers in the amendment, we should also be focusing on the occupational injury reserve. My suggestion would be that would need to be significantly higher. I'm not a workers' compensation attorney, but if we're going to have the current facility remain as is, I would expect that we're going to have injured employees, and I'm shocked that we haven't had more of them already. I would also suggest we don't need everything new in this town, but we do need everything safe. And until we have a safe environment, we're not going to get new DPW employees to come and work in our town, because I can't imagine anyone would want to work in a facility such as that. Walking into that facility should not be a sign of what we think of our employees in this town. It's shameful. I would also suggest, again, just to expand on the hypothetical, we have amendments coming up to replace some DPW equipment and trucks that might not be needed if we had such a facility already in place. So I'm very aware of our taxes. I pay them as well. I'm aware of the seniors and that their value of their houses have increased significantly, which means their tax basis has increased significantly. But I think we need to look at this in a broader sense and have this discussion in October. It's not proper for tonight. So I would ask for you to oppose this amendment.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I too rise in opposition to the proposed amendment.
Could we get your, just your address?
I'm sorry, Todd Johnson, 71 Wells Drive. I have two comments to offer to the body. The first is that when I first was elected many years ago to serve on the select board, then the Board of Selectmen, one of the most frequent criticisms that I heard was that we did not properly plan fiscally. This issue this evening is the exact opposite of that approach. We are trying to get ahead of the curve. We are trying to finance a capital project in a manner that, to my knowledge, Tewksbury has not ever done. Or if it has, it's been at least 30 years or more since it was done that way. Ultimately, we can avoid what we've done every other time when we've built schools, fire stations, etc., through a debt exemption vote. And that I can assure every resident of our town, they will pay more in taxes if that's the route we go. This option costs whatever the ultimate cost is, but it will be done within the tax levy. That's a huge difference in our approach. And if we have not accomplished fiscal planning and thinking ahead with this approach, then we never can accomplish that. I ask and urge members of town meeting to oppose and defeat the amendment. The second point that I want to make is that this is not a cost avoidance issue. One way or another, we will have to deal with the Department of Public Works facility, whether it's by renovation, whether it's piecemeal, as one of my brother select board members just mentioned. Sooner or later, it will have to get done. This is the best approach to financing it with the least amount of financial pain. So again, I urge my fellow town meeting members to defeat the amendment. And my last comment is that I hope residents take note here. We have a divided board. We have differing opinions. But what I will say is I do not disagree at all with Mr. Kelly or Mr. Kratman's comments. My view differs in that we're doing exactly the right thing to plan and allow for the ability to make the decision in October. Boxing ourselves in today eliminates all possibilities. And with that, Mr. Moderator, I would actually move the question.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. We have one resident already standing behind you, so we'll hear from him.
Mr. Moderator, Joe Gill, 12 Ellington Road. I'm standing up in opposition to this article, this amendment, I mean, and the issue we want to deal with is October. We want to handle that issue in October, where it was agreed upon at the selectmen's meeting. And with that, I also agree. Let's move to the question.
Thank you, Joe. Before I move the question.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee would like to offer a recommendation on this amendment. So I would move to recess for 5 minutes so the Finance Committee can convene.
To be sure that we have a fully informed assembly, I think that we would like to get the Finance Committee's recommendation before we move the question. So I'm going to hold the vote on the 5-minute recess first, and then immediately after that, we'll close debate and we'll vote on the question. Now, all those in favor, taking this on a voice vote, all those in favor of taking 5 minutes so the Finance Committee can draw up a recommendation, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries. It's not unanimous. We'll take 5 minutes, recess, and come back and move the question. you all could return to your seats, please. I have one clarification that I need to make before we go to the Finance Committee for their recommendation. This is a clarification of how the amendment is written, and I wanted to be perfectly clear about this one. The amendment says that we are going to take non-exempt principal maturing debt. We're going to reduce the amount by $1,245,000. So just to be clear, that line item will move from $1,450,000 to, I believe, if I did my math right, $205,000. On the next line, the non-exempt interest maturing debt will be reduced, according to the amendment, by $554,997. So in your warrant, the number 638278 would be changed to 83,281. Just wanted to be perfectly clear on that. Mr. Kazmersky, can we get the Finance Committee's recommendation, please?
The Finance Committee unanimously voted to recommend to defeat the amendment to Article 4.
Thank you very much. We have a motion on the floor to move the question. We're going to do this by standing vote, please. We have the counters go to your stations. We do. I'm sorry?
I think everybody's ready to do the questions. If you say all in favor of the question,
All right. Okay. After talking to Denise, and she's helping me out on my first night, so excuse me, we're just going to try a voice vote on moving the question on the amendment. Forgive me. Please give me some grace tonight. Okay. All those in favor of moving the question on the amendment for Article 4, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Saved us a lot of time, Denise. Thank you. So now we do this. Now we'll do the standing vote. Excuse me. Counters, would you please come back up? Sorry. Thanks. Now, when you rise to vote, please make sure you make eye contact with your counter when she indicates or he indicates that they've counted you. Then you can be seated. Now, on the amendment to Article 4, to remove the sum of $1,245,000 from the budget for non-exempt principal maturing debt, as well as removing the sum of $554,997 from the non-exempt interest maturing debt. All those in favor of amending the article, please rise. All those opposed to the amendment, please rise. Should have done voice vote.
It's always good to have this in the record, right? So it's easier.
With a vote of 104 to 11, the amendment fails. Thank you. We now return to debating the article as written, unamended. If there's anybody who would like to continue debate, in particular, I prefer if we stick to the unclassified, because everything else seemed good. Please rise at this time. Seeing none, I think we'll try a voice vote this time. All those in favor of passing Article 4 as written in your warrant, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The amendment carries. What? Sorry. The article was adopted, excuse me. Unanimously, I believe. Speak now. Okay. The article was adopted unanimously. Thank you very much. Mr. Kazmersky.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 5, raise and appropriate $6,850,979 for the purpose of the article.
Do I see any debate for Article 5? Seeing none. The sewer enterprise budget, Article 5. All those in favor of adopting Article 5, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The article passes unanimously. Article 6, water enterprise budget.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 6, raise and appropriate $7,553,375 for the purpose of the article.
Any discussion? Moving to a vote. All those in favor of Article 6, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The article passes unanimously. Mr. Kazmir.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 7, raise and appropriate $1,118,910 for the purpose of the article.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed to Article 7, please say no. The article passes unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Kazmersky.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 8, raise and appropriate $581,000 $1,232 for the purpose of the article.
Any discussion for Article 8? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 8, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Article 8 passes unanimously. Article 9.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 9, transfer $1,635,185 from the Stabilization Fund for the purpose of the article.
This article requires a 2/3 vote. We'll try it by voice first. All those in favor of adopting Article 9, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Article passes unanimously. Article 10, please.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 10, transfer $985,000 from sewer retained earnings for the purpose of the article.
Article 10, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 10, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Article 10 passes unanimously. Article 11.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 11, transfer $2,070,000 from water retained earnings for the purpose of the article.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 11, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Article 11 passes unanimously. Article 12.
The Finance Committee moves that the town, The Finance Committee moves that the town hereby appropriates the sum of $1,800,000 for the cost of inspection, upgrading, improvements, and cleaning of the Astle Street water tank, and for the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the town treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is hereby authorized to borrow said sum under the pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 8, parentheses 4, of the Massachusetts General Laws, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. Any premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of the cost approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
Thank you for covering the motion. I think I see somebody rising to speak. Please state your name and address.
Ann Hagstrom, 125 Livingston Street. I'm just curious to know whether these upgrades and improvements will address the water quality issues that we've been getting mailings about in the last year.
Mr. Montori.
No, that's a separate issue. This is mainly a structural issue with the tank itself, to maintain the tank through painting the inside, sandblasting, and painting the outside, repairing the catwalk. All of the issues in regard to the THM levels that we had were addressed at the filtration at the water treatment plant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Article 12 requires a 2/3 vote to pass. So we'll take it by voice first. All of those in favor of adopting the motion, as Mr. Kosmierski has read, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Article 13.
Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 13, transfer $44,833 from bond premiums for the purpose of the article.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing Article 13, please say aye. All those opposed? Article passes unanimously. Mr. Kazmarski.
Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 14, appropriate $28,000 from Community Preservation Fund undesignated reserve for the purpose of the article.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 14, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Article passes unanimously. Article 15.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 15, appropriate $157,000 from Community Preservation Fund undesignated reserve for the purpose of the article.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 15, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The article passes unanimously. Article 16.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 16, appropriate $45,000 from Community Preservation Fund undesignated reserve for the purpose of the article.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Article 16. All those in favor of Article 16, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The article passes unanimously. 17.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 17, transfer $25,000 from the overlay surplus for the purpose of the article.
I see someone rising for discussion.
Maureen Castiglione, 1098 Whipple Road. As we've been talking tonight about the expenses and the burdens on seniors, and as I am a volunteer who works in one of the schools and has utilized seniors through the work program here, is $25,000 actually sufficient? Since we have seniors who are struggling and our taxes are really high, is there a way to increase this amount? Because it just seems like, we're talking about seniors having to pay and being forced to pay, and it doesn't really seem like a lot of credit that they're getting back.
Thank you. Mr. Mortari, you would like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and that's a very good question. The reason why we're coming forward with $25,000 is because the last couple of years we have not had the program due to COVID, so we have funds from previous years that we're going to add to this. And we'll evaluate going forward if we need to increase this in the future.
So my understanding is $25,000 is not the base amount, there is other money.
There is available funds currently that we'll use also.
Okay, thank you.
You both. Any other discussion on Article 17? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 17, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Article 17 passes unanimously. Article 18, please.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 18.
Any discussion? Seeing no one rise, Article 18. All those in favor of passing Article 18, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Article 18 passes unanimously. Article 19.
Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 19.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing Article 19, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Article 19 passes unanimously. Article 20.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 20.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing Article 20, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Article 20 passes unanimously. 21.
Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 21.
Any discussion? Article 21. All those in favor of Article 21, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. Article 21 passes unanimously. Article 22.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 22.
Any discussion? Article 22. All those in favor of passing Article 22, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Article 22 passes unanimously. Article 23.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 23.
Article 23, any discussion? Seeing no one rising, all those in favor of passing Article 23, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Article 23 passes unanimously. Article 24. Article 24. Article 24 is a petitioner article. Do we have the petitioner here to speak on their article?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Laura Kaplan, and I reside at 11 Lanaka Road. The reason that I drafted this article was that in walking my dog on different roadways, there was trailers parked on a public roadway, and it impeded the vision, and we almost got hit by a vehicle. I looked into it with the town manager and some of the board selects, because I thought it was part of our bylaws to protect the safety, and learned that it's not. So I had written this Article 24 just for the safety and concerns of all residents to be able to utilize our public roadways without having their vision impaired, and hope that everybody here agrees and rises in support of this article. Thank you. You can tell how well this is my first article that I've written, sorry.
Me too.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Article 24. Thank you.
A motion on the floor to adopt Article 24. Any further discussion? Article 24 is a simple majority vote, but we'll do it by voice first, see if I can't figure it out. All those in favor of passing Article 4, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. The article passes. It was not unanimous. Now, we have, excuse me one second, we have to go back to the Article 3 that was held. Now, so on the consent calendar, Article 3-27. (3-27) is to authorize Chapter 90 funds. Do I see anyone rising for discussion or debate on Article 3-27? Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I wanted to, on Article 3-27, thank all the efforts being made in the town. I've noticed some beautiful sidewalks being placed, and I've been seeing people walking that I haven't on like Shawshene Street, and it just warms my heart. I want to thank you. But what I did want to ask on Article 3-27, so these efforts can continue, what was the amount that the state did grant to the town of Tewksbury for not only the installation of sidewalks, but for road work under Chapter 90 funds?
Mr. Montori.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. In FY23, we're slated to get $929,300 in Chapter 90 money.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
$929,300.
Thank you.
It's consistent with what we've seen in the past. In previous years, most recent, between 2021 and today, we have spent $662,000 from Chapter 90 on sidewalks. Just to give everyone an indication, we have 4 sidewalk projects going on. Shawshene Street is under construction. There's a sidewalk on Main Street that will begin soon. 5th Street sidewalk, we're completing the permitting right now, and Whipple Road is under design. The total amount that the town has approved since 2021 on sidewalks is $3,091,958, and that does not include the construction of Whipple Road that'll come forward later. The length of sidewalk that we've done since then is 19,800 feet, approximately 3.8 miles.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kaplan. Any other discussion on Article 3-27? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting, sorry, missed the motion. Mr. Kesmer.
The Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 3-27.
On that motion, all those in favor of adopting Article 3-27, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The article passes unanimously. Now, this concludes the agenda for tonight. The zoning articles are scheduled for the continuation of this meeting on Wednesday, May 4th at 7:30 p.m. Mr. Kosmersky, may I have the motion to recess for the evening?
I move to recess annual town meeting until Wednesday, May 4th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.